Welcome to the Ecommerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top founders and experts in the e-commerce industry and take an in-depth look at the struggles and successes in growing e-commerce brands profitably.
Josh Chin here. I'm the host of the Ecommerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top experts and entrepreneurs in the e-com industry, and we go behind the scenes of the struggles and successes in growing a brand. Now, this episode is brought to you by chronos.agency. If you're a direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand that is ready for scale and to double your customer lifetime value through retention marketing, Chronos is your company. We've helped hundreds of brands scale profits with email, SMS, and mobile push while getting an average of 3,500% ROI from our efforts. We've worked with brands like Truly Beauty, Elias Skin, Dr. Living Good, and today's guests, the Oodie, and many more. So the next step is to email us at sales@chronos.agency, or you can go to chronos.agency to learn more. Today's guest is Davie Fogarty, a 9-figure founder and CEO of some of the fastest growing e-com brands, such as the Oodie, Calming Blankets, and PubNaps. Since 2018, Davie and his group of brands have generated over $200 million in Shopify sales. And for the first time ever, he's showing himself on screen and on the public space. He's got an amazing YouTube channel coming up. Go check him out, Davie Fogarty, on YouTube as well. Davie, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, mate.
Let's start off with your entrepreneurial beginnings. I think there's a really interesting story that revolves around F&B and Vietnamese rolls. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's been a pretty crazy journey. I've definitely failed probably more than most entrepreneurs. Ever since I was, 14, 15 years old, I knew I wanted to own a business. So I pretty much launched every single business that I could think of. I tried selling, iPhone cases, headphones. I tried mixing seasonings in my shed at one point and trying to sell those. All of them really didn't work. And the funniest one definitely was I, launched a Vietnamese roll cafe in my local suburb. Spent 2 years trying to make it a franchise, which, is a tough gig. So kudos to anyone that can actually achieve that. But yeah, basically. And then I ended up just learning digital marketing, learning the fundamentals, and launched the Oodie and Calming Blankets. And, that really shaped my path. And since then we, haven't really, a lot of mistakes, but none of our businesses have failed. So definitely learned kind of the process and what to do.
It's really interesting. Now, what have you learned from launching your Vietnamese roll shop in the F&B industry that you still apply till today in building your businesses?
Yeah, it was probably what I didn't apply in the Vietnamese roll shop that's probably more interesting. Part of my strength, and if I was to launch a Vietnamese roll shop again, I'd probably succeed at it, to be honest. And it all comes down to understanding digital platforms and how to market a product. And furthermore, just the product development itself. So, if you were to launch a cafe nowadays, what product offering are you actually launching that is unique, that can work with these platforms? So, you see a lot of these large, I'm not sure if you have them where you are, but in Australia, we've got all these food groups that can essentially make a cafe viral through their either food challenges or just enormous servings. So, I guess it's, cool. I think that's, if I had my time again, I would apply my strengths to that, and also just really focus on the product development itself.
Let's talk a little bit about your e-commerce journey. Now, being on Facebook and any social media today, you see tons of, I guess, pseudo gurus and influencers coming up with their own screenshots of how they've made their first 100K month or $1 million month on Shopify or on Amazon or whatever platform that they're on. And there's a lot of ego involved. I think one of the things that really stood out when we started working together with you was just how humble and down to earth you and your team are, and you were really behind the scenes and kind of not showing yourself for a long time while kind of building things. What was the mindset behind that, and what was the philosophy in doing that?
Yeah, definitely. I think, it took 3 years to start talking about our financials, or just even talking about what we're doing. I guess there was an element of competitiveness and secret. We wanted to kind of remain behind the scenes. But yeah, I think that, we really try to be humble. Well, I certainly do. I feel quite blessed with where we currently are, and the opportunities that we've been given. But I don't think we're necessarily like 100 times smarter than the people that, a business 100 times bigger than. Everyone's got a lot to say and a lot of value to add in their own kind of areas of space. Our paradigms around e-commerce and product development, and direct response marketing is generally the reason why we get such large results. But that doesn't mean that don't have a lot to learn with branding. But yeah, I guess it was just probably more so a personal choice as well. I didn't really want to be known as that guy. I wanted to keep my life exactly how it was. That's kind of changing now. I guess we feel like we can help a lot of people, and we're just trying to get the word out a little bit about what we're trying to achieve as well. We're investing in businesses, acquiring businesses. So yeah, unfortunately, the easiest way to do that is show your Shopify screenshots. If I could just kind of impart wisdom as a whole, that would be awesome. But people don't really listen to you until you kind of show those screenshots, and then you can proof, actually, the social proof. That's it.
What were some of your biggest influences in life? I think that a lot of your core values have been shaped in some way as you're growing up and building your businesses. Does it have anything to do with your parents? And I understand that your dad is also an entrepreneur.
Yeah, the parents were a big part of who I am. They're, very kind, giving people. I guess maybe it's a personal thing where, like, when I was struggling and failing, I would see people flaunting things. And I guess it didn't make me feel good. It also didn't make me like them. It didn't make me want to listen to them. So I guess, trying to stay humble, and I guess that's the thing is there's an element of empathy to it, and not wanting to be those people that I used to resent. So yeah, trying to stay humble, but at the same time, there's a fine line. Like, you still want to be confident and proud, and share your team's wins as well. So there is a fine line, and we're just trying to walk that, I guess.
That's really interesting that you brought that up. And I remember being in school, being in sports teams, in Asia, in Singapore particularly. We're kind of geared towards being humble, and I guess overly humble. And that kind of overshadows the reality, which is that we are fearful of facing the facts and facing our competition, especially in sports. Mm-hmm. And we would say things like, never underestimate our opponent. Let's just stay humble and be quiet. But that doesn't get you riled up to do your best on the court. So I see that the need for that balance between being confident and proud of what you've done versus being humble and down to earth. Tell me a little bit about that transition that you're facing right now as you move from building a direct to consumer kind of direct response type of a business towards branding. And that's one of the things you've mentioned that you need to learn a lot more about. What has your experience been like so far?
Yeah, totally. I think, we were entirely bootstrapped at this point. So we really relied on direct response marketing, high conversion, positive cash flow to fund our growth. So I wouldn't have it any other way about how we've gone about what we've done. But one thing to note is just like how, great, how big the Oodie is becoming. And it's simply because of our brand. And it's really important to kind of break down what is a brand. And I think people it's obviously the product experience. the packaging, all of, the shipping, the customer service. But I guess it's more so the product itself, and how that actually solves a problem. So, all of our products are just so good. That's literally how they scale so much. So I think a flashy website just gets in the way of selling more product because your conversion rate's less, and then less people get the product in their hands. So there can be less word of mouth referral about the product itself. So it's kind of like, it's just a more important thing, making the product fantastic than the design itself. The real absolute guns in e-commerce, and we're really working hard, and we're probably there. It can achieve that high level of branding execution with the direct response conversion rate element to it. So yeah, I guess that's that really separates the newbies versus the experienced.
What are some key pitfalls that you see at each stage of an e-commerce brand's journey, from reaching that 1 mil mark, then 1 mil to 10 to 25, and 25 and beyond? Are there key points of failures that you see happening?
Yeah, definitely. They say it's harder to make your first million than your 10th million. And I totally agree with that. It's like the person that you need to become to make 1 million is very similar to the person that you need to be to make 10 million. So I guess to break it down, your first million, you just need to figure out how to arbitrage digital traffic in some way. How can you make money on a paid traffic source? Because if it is a paid traffic source and you can profit on it, the chances are you're going to be able to scale it to a degree of making $1 million revenue. It's just about getting that right product and the right offer or the right website initially, and then scaling that up. So once you hit that $1 million mark, it is, there's a level of optimization, of course, fixing things, but it is also, that to get to the 10 million mark, you're obviously going to have to hire VAs or customer service teams, getting your operations really solid. You want to build systems around those processes that have gotten you there in the first place. Let's say, for example, it's Facebook. What's your content utilization system for Facebook? How does it, that cycle work? You can still be heavily involved in all of these elements, and you should be, because you are the founder. But, I guess the 10 to $25 million mark, you're really wanting to start replacing yourselves out of those systems, and then just kind of putting in some more high level reporting, trusting the people that are coming in with you. At that point, I would start, product development, secondary products. It's really important to allow longevity. See if you can improve your existing product through either patents or design differentiation, to protect yourself against the onslaught of Amazon and eBay sellers that are going to come in. And then 25 million plus, it is really just like a product branding game, multi-region. I would go pretty quickly globally to grow that. And yeah, it's a tough one as you start to get to that point. That $25 million mark is kind of like the death zone for a lot of e-commerce brands, especially if it takes them a while to get there. By the trend fatigue, the lifespan is almost over. So, that's where, you could obviously shed a lot of insights around nurturing that email list, getting those high reviews, looking at your repeat purchase rate metrics, and all of those kind of things is really critical at that stage. Not that you shouldn't be looking at them, the whole lifespan of the brand.
And I just want to say that some of the brands that we worked on, for some geos in particular, you actually generated more revenue than people in the country itself. So you're actually generating like $1, $2 every single quarter or month per person that's living in a certain country. And I think that's insane to see from just an outside point of view, like metrics wise. And I think it just goes to say what the power of branding and repeat purchases is from the perspective of valuation of a company, and how important it is. Where does the repeat purchases and branding play a part in that formula?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is to look at the dropshipping valuations that people are getting on, they're getting 1 to 1.5 times multiple on certain brokerage sites, and that's just proof that there is no real value there. It's just monetizing paid traffic. There's no.
And that's on profits, right?
Yes, yeah, it would be profits.
1 to 1.5.
Yeah, 1 to 1.5. It really depends on the product offering, and again, as we're saying, the reviews and repeat purchase rate. But a proper e-commerce brand with a nice 3PL, good branding, a couple of different product offerings, maybe some diversified channels are going to be looking more at 2.5 to 4 times EBITDA for their multiples. So you're essentially doubling your business's value. And it's very hard to understand why people don't do that. I think there's misinformation around the difficulty. I've never drop shipped before, even though I highly recommend it for people just to learn how to figure out paid traffic. That I believe that people think it's very hard to import through containers and set up 3PLs. And I guess there's a bit more financial outlay and risk. But at the same time, if you've proven your dropshipping product or have some kind of validation through paid traffic, that that it's going to work, it's very rare that just drops off a cliff. So that's kind of one thing that I wish people told me earlier. It's backing yourself in, and unless there's a black swan event, which is just very unlikely, and you can't run businesses just not doing things because of black swan events. So you just need to kind of have a bit of conviction in the long-term vision of what you're trying to build, and go from there.
It sounds like you've acquired not just knowledge, but the experience over time, in such a short amount of time in a digital marketing space. So you started brands in 2018, but obviously your education started way earlier than that. Who are some mentors, people, or resources that you go to for knowledge like this?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, YouTube is just such a amazing area for basic fundamentals of e-commerce, like how to set up a Shopify, does dropshipping even work, basic mistakes of FBA. Like it's all of those, base level stuff. That's where you first start. And then, the devil's in the details when you start going to some of these like events. I know you speak at a lot of events, and you kind of give all of these kind of high level best practices for the current situation. That's the stuff that you won't get on YouTube. Just this is how it's formatted. So, I think that's easily accessible for any of your listeners is those two mediums. But yeah, me personally, I've been very lucky to have a lot of mentors that have helped me along the way. Greta Van Riel, Toby Pierce, Nick Shackelford's been amazing. Yourself has been amazing. There's been plenty like Matt Orlick as well. Like, yeah, they've all kind of, they really fast tracked my learning in e-commerce. 3 years isn't actually that long of a time to achieve what we've achieved, but it's very typical. It's very similar to the fitness community as well. People are just so welcoming and willing to share their information, even though there is that, slight chance that there will be some level of competition. And I think that's, also something that's kind of ingrained in my process of wanting to help other people now as well at scale through YouTube, just really trying to give back,
Beat the cycle, completing the loop. What are some beliefs about life or business, going broader in scope here, that most people would disagree with?
Yeah, I I guess the main one, is passion is probably overrated in the short term. I think passion for like a particular product is just kind of not helpful, because it'll silo you into believing that it will work. And there's obviously, I don't know if it's right to call these edge cases, but like when someone's so passionate about their product and they just won't give up and they keep persevering and they end up, building something like, Apple, or you look at Elon Musk and what he's done. But I guess when you're really new and starting out, you don't have enough feedback from the world to understand if you are on the right track or any of these insights, whether it actually will work. You need some kind of success, positive feedback loops to then shape your decision-making and make sure that you are on track. So I guess passion can blind you to that. So getting passionate more about just learning in general and figuring out what works as a whole, and then allowing that to kind of shape what you actually work on is probably my insight. Yeah.
So persistence and passion over learning in the process itself and growing versus a certain product or an idea is what you're saying.
Yeah, because honestly, the product just might not work. It might be your Vietnamese rolls. So,
just out of curiosity, how many businesses have you been through before?
Before maybe probably I don't know, 6 to 8, I would say.
That's insane. So you start and you're 25.
Yeah, 26.
26 this year. That's insane. So you've gone through 6 to 8 businesses before you even found success in the Oodie.
Yeah, now we've got I think 12 brands.
What was some of the common themes that you've seen throughout your journey in building failed businesses?
Yeah, hacky permissionless marketing doesn't work. Build value. Learn how to communicate products, features and benefits. Understand your customer and what they're actually looking for, and then essentially, if you broke that down, like, what does your copywriting look like? Is it casual language communicating that? Don't overcomplicate things. There's kind of a lot. Obviously, I'm always speaking from a marketing background. That's just me. But I guess if you talk to someone that's just a much more operations focused or finance focused, I'm sure they'll draw a lot more common traits around those areas. So it's always about marketing in that regard. Yeah.
What are some key roles that you have found to be complementary to your own over the years? Is there for instance, like a finance person that you partner with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with core competencies, it is really important to hire someone that has done what you want done in the other role. Because if you are hiring someone, like, for example, operations, if you're looking for someone to set up 3PLs around the world, you don't want to hire an operations manager or a general manager that hasn't really worked with 3PLs or supply chain or anything like that. You want someone that has the kind of base level knowledge, because otherwise they're just going to come to you because you have the base level knowledge and they're going to draw from you. So I guess hiring someone that's achieved what you're looking to achieve is a big one. And that's definitely the same as finance. In e-commerce, when you get to a certain scale, you've kind of got, you need to set up departments. How that's structured is obviously entirely dependent on the organization, but finance is often overlooked. They just have the bookkeeper, but there's so much insight that you actually need to be drawing from your financials. So hiring an in-house bookkeeper pretty quickly is pretty important. Operations is a huge one. Mainly, I would say demand management is the thing that's overlooked there. If you are doing over 15, 20 million a year, I would definitely be hiring a demand manager. In fact, I'd probably hire them earlier, because a single stock out is going to cost you like a very large amount. So they pay for themselves very, very quickly. And then you've obviously got your marketing department as well, and then your customer service on top of that. So yeah, just hiring key roles in each of those areas that have done what you're looking to achieve. And then they can hire out and flesh out their team below you, and stop too many key reports, coming on just talking to you.
How have you evolved over time? In obviously at the beginning, you must have been kind of a man of many hats, and as you evolve, you obviously hired more people to fill in those roles. What's your best advice for someone going through that process, an entrepreneur going through that process, in letting go of things that they might have been used to doing for a long time?
First and foremost, I would never completely let go straight away. And that you obviously need to trust the people that you're hiring. But if something is so critical to your business, let's say demand management, and you've hired the wrong person for that job, and you just completely let go without any kind of controls in place, it's going to end badly. So I guess, hiring, understanding what you need to see from these people in terms of either a weekly, monthly report. If they can't tell you what they should be communicating to you as well, that also may be an issue, because you just may not know. So, doing some research around that, just chatting to as many people, as many consultants as possible about what you're looking for. I guess that's the first thing. Defining what success looks like as well from the outset when you hire these people is really important. And then you know pretty quickly when you've done the right thing, because they obviously run away with it and they improve things, and that the reports will start to look better. New initiatives can be implemented thanks to their improved structures and all of those kind of things. So, probably be quite cynical initially, whether that's actually happening. You need to make sure that communication's coming through and you can see it improving. Otherwise, it just might not be going in the right direction.
That's really good insight. So you're saying not to let go right away, as many people might be promoting. So find out what success looks like from the outset. Understand what you're looking for, and I guess that's a process of just speaking to enough people and understanding what how much of that comes from the person that you're hiring, the success metrics, and how much of that comes from you. Especially when it's a realm where you have no clue about, say, like finance.
Exactly. It is a really difficult part of business. If you have, any HR team, they can obviously support you in that. But this is all where it comes down to finding someone that has done it before, exactly what you're trying to achieve. And that doesn't need to just be someone in your business. Like you just need to go to an event and figure out, chat to someone that has scaled to your scale and say, hey, what does your structure look like? How do you get the answers from the demand side to the marketing side? It's these kind of piercing questions that, providing you have built a bit of a network, is kind of critical. Or just, comment it below on a ton of e-commerce people's YouTubes or something like that, and just try to figure out, try to get some answers there. Naturally you'll want to let go of things that aren't your core competencies. Like, for example, mine was logistics. But you just can't do it straight away unless you have some controls in place.
No, let's move on a little bit into your personal routines and life. You have 12 different brands to manage on top of everything else that you're doing with YouTube, with investments. What have worked for you, and like in terms of morning routine and just keeping life in order in general?
Yeah, I think obviously structuring your day is really important. I have an assistant to help me with that now, which is pretty critical. But initially, obviously, I didn't. Creating a routine is just so important. Getting up at every time in the morning, following the routine, training, and then getting into your meetings. Again, key reporting lines with your organizational structure is really important. So you don't have 100 people trying to call you in one day. I think that's really key. But yeah, it's obviously a lot of work. This is a lifestyle choice. If you want better results than everyone, you need to work harder than everyone. That's just the fact. Work harder and smarter. So that's what we're trying to do. I don't think I'll work this hard forever. But while you're young and you've got the energy, it's just a no-brainer, I think.
No, here's an interesting question. What does retirement look like to you?
Yeah.
If retirement's a word in your dictionary at all.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really think about that, to be honest. I would love to be an investor. Just seeing people grow and giving them opportunity is just such a great space. But at the same time, it is a very tough space. I guess, I'm focused more on the next 3 to 10 years, and retirement's most definitely not in that. So, yeah.
Gotcha. What are some of your favorite e-commerce brands that you look up to that are not your own?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think Gymshark is incredible. What Ben Francis has done, it really kind of changed the landscape as a whole, and his ability to execute in the operation side of things is something really to admire. I think it's very exciting where we currently are with even like TikTok and the fact that there's a new organic platform that has just more power than Instagram really ever had. I think that we're going to see a lot of like Gymsharks built on TikTok, $1 billion brands built on that organic traffic. So yeah, really exciting. I hope there's going to be a couple more, but yeah, he'd be my top one.
It's amazing. And you touched a little bit on the future of e-com. TikTok, that's a big one. What's your opinion on the future of e-commerce and DTC?
Yeah, I'm so excited about the future of e-commerce. I think we've literally scratched the surface. I think a lot of my excitement, and this may stem from just being in Australia, comes from the transport limitations and how much it actually costs to transport something. So, I'm obviously not an expert in this area, but with electric and automated vehicles, what happens with those transport costs? Also, the cost of obviously flying. I think that's going to make e-commerce even more viable, which is really exciting. You're looking at 4-hour delivery for a lot of businesses. And I think that will slowly become more like the norm, which will give a lot more power shift towards those top brands and allow, it'll kind of really disrupt retail even more, which is good. I think there's a lot of aggregators coming into this space like Thrasio, they're buying up lots of like Amazon-based brands, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they leverage their economies of scale as well. Obviously, artificial intelligence is going to be a really interesting one as well with e-commerce, and I think mainly around I'm mainly interested around the product development side of artificial intelligence and also the content side. If we can create content through AI, and then obviously use people's feedback and how they interact with that content to improve it, the marketing really changes to more of an automated process, which is also really exciting. And yeah, there's so many exciting things. Obviously, there's some darker things like data privacy and where that goes. You probably would have seen Tim Cook announcing that he's going to stop people checking open rates of emails soon. So that's going to be interesting. I think that will only get worse and more challenging. But that being said, I think there's also going to be a lot of other opportunities. So, it's the same as always. The people that innovate, don't panic, and just create things that people want will win. The other people will struggle.
From a marketer standpoint, it sounds like there's the threats are much larger than the opportunities. For many people, that's how it seems. What's a good way or a good mindset to have, or a good strategy to approach these challenges or opportunities in the future, especially with, like you mentioned, privacy. That's a big theme.
Yeah, I think, people structure either their agency or their business surrounding what's working. And then obviously any kind of disruption in what's working makes them restructure. So I guess just always constantly being on the lookout for the next thing, the untapped opportunity, and then having the agility or the conviction to test and then scale that next thing, and just obviously shifting what you're doing is really important. But also, I would say that that's the main one. And then again, focusing on what you're actually offering is the main thing, because then you'll retain clients and or customers. So yeah, just really focusing on retention and lifetime value as well.
And artificial intelligence, let's talk a little bit about that. With product development, that's really interesting. But with content and all of these things combined, it seems like it's gradually taking away from the role of a digital marketer. So instead of optimizing ads by optimizing the best content that people like, they're probably going to be spending time clicking on buttons on an AI platform that would do all the work for them. What's the best way to adapt as someone who's in that space?
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. I don't probably have the best answer. I guess it looks at what is creativity. How do you push the boundaries of something new? I guess that's the main thing. Looking at what new products can you create, or how can you harness, because AI is not going to do all the work. It's also going to be how you harness it. There's obviously AI copy.ai at the moment that you can write descriptions and stuff. It's also how you leverage that onto an actual website and stuff like that. So I think there's always going to be that combination, in the near future, of how you combine that and leverage it to actually get use out of it.
Let's talk a little bit about mistakes and I guess things that you would change if you could go back in time. Say top 3 to 5 mistakes that you've made in your journey of building the Oodie, Coming Blankets, all these amazing brands.
Yeah. One of my mistakes was definitely that what I mentioned before is, just not hiring the right people that have done the thing that I'm looking to achieve. That's probably the main one. Again, not hiring a demand manager fast enough. If you go onto any of our Oodie sites, we're still sold out of most of them, which is just costing us so much money. Maybe not taking on investment quick enough. One of the maybe it's more of a mental thing, but not having enough conviction in what we were doing, not believing in ourselves enough. That's caused me to sell out early before, and it almost caused me to sell out early again. Just maybe believing in ourselves a little bit more. And just a really practical e-commerce mistake that we've made is not buying products with enough margin on them to allow that Facebook CPA. If you're building a brand that has less than $30 to spend on advertising, you're in a bit of trouble, I would say.
And I'm going to assume here, but I hope email has helped a little bit with CPAs and spending more on ads.
Yeah, 100%. Emails definitely something that people overlook, especially with agencies. They're willing to spend a lot with their either content agency, or they're willing to spend ridiculous amounts on a crummy website. But yeah, people often overlook the power of email. like to see email and SMS and even CRO as a building block that you essentially add, and then it just provides infinite value for the rest of the brand's life. What is your welcome series? How many emails is it? Every single incremental improvement on that email flow will affect your CPA on Facebook, because obviously you're going to convert more customers. So it's just really about focusing on those building blocks and not just trying to fix your creative on Facebook or fix your targeting and those kind of things. So definitely focusing on them, and just focusing on your key flows as well is a big one. You could obviously speak to this more than me, but just the simple welcome flow, abandoned cart, browse abandoned, making sure that they're all operational even just before you even launch ads is going to give you a more true indication whether the product's actually going to work.
Simple is often the best, and often looking at the metrics that matter most versus just having emails for email's sake and having it pretty and nicely designed is much more important. So tell us a little bit about your the next stages of your journey and what you're planning to accomplish in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, awesome. So we're obviously going to keep launching brands, launching a ton of products. We're looking to acquire businesses and incubate them through our team. So we're looking to buy businesses over $1 million revenue per year. Typically not nailing absolutely every single element, knowing that they can do better, probably a little bit burnt out with the process. And we just want to either buy them out completely or mostly, and then add, give them a salary and bring them along for the ride, give them a payout based on the success that we can then bring on for them. Just really wanting to leverage our skills that way and help people that need it. Because, we see so many poorly run brands out there that, the founder's great and they're trying their best, but we've got 3 years of really hard lessons that we've fixed and overcome to create, $200 million in sales. We can just quickly apply them through our systems and framework now.
Amazing. And talking about the mindset of taking capital, I think a lot of people have this, especially, and you know this very well, Davie, and kind of bootstrapping your own e-com brands. It's often a taboo to think about taking capital, and often we wear it as a kind of like we take pride in not having to take capital. And what's your advice around that, and what's your mindset in?
It's an interesting one, and I'm definitely not an expert in it. I've just gone through the investor process, but I do regret not taking it on earlier to therefore get ahead of our inventory problems. Probably most of our systematic problems have stemmed from not having enough inventory, which has put pressure on certain systems like customer service, supply chain, all of those kind of things. So I just wish we got ahead of that. But it's there's a lot of things, if you're going to go down the debt path, you need to make sure that you've got the proper financial team involved, and everything is in line there, and you can handle the terms of it. And if you're going to go down the equity path, you're going to make sure that you're not getting ripped off. You're getting a good valuation, and if you're looking for a strategic investor as well, making sure that they are actually going to be able to help you.
Love that. And having to sell out and run out of inventory isn't a fun thing. It seems like a good problem to have, but it's always lost value on the table. I remember times where we had to pause campaigns on email for quite a period of time just because we ran out of inventory. What is one advice that you have for e-com entrepreneurs listening, whether it be at the stage of just starting out or at the stage where they're about to scale to their first 10 mil revenue year?
Yeah, maybe don't get distracted by all the channels out there. There's so many different digital marketing channels. Focus on either Facebook or the one channel that you're competent with and that you've already proven that works with this product, and just double down. Focus on that. Focus on your landing page where you're pushing that traffic to optimize that before branching out to Snapchat, Pinterest, all of these other ones. I think that's quite important to kind of really execute and push that as far as it can before you get distracted.
Perfect. Davie, thank you so much for coming on the show. And if people are interested to connect with you and learn more about what you do, where is the best place to find you?
YouTube's good, Davie Fogarty. If you want to search me there. We're also having a play on TikTok as well. So if you don't have YouTube, head there.
And it's all Davie Fogarty.
Davie Fogarty, yep.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the E-Commerce Profits Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get notified of future episodes.